وكفى سلام على عباده الذين اصطفى أما بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الذين جاهدوا فينا لنهدينهم سبلنا سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم. Continuing our discussion of certain halat and kayfiyat, states and conditions that a seeker usually goes through, these inner dimensions, these inner conditions, it is important that we have a little bit of self-awareness about them. So yesterday we spoke about raja, this concept of hope, or a better word would be like having aspirations. That's what it is, like having aspirations, and we established that all of our hope should be with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We put in the effort, we ask for tawfiq for effort, and then we hope for the best. That is really how it works, that Allah ta'ala puts barakah in it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows for it to blossom. Now, a related kayfiyah is what is known as raghba, which is when a person feels like a desire for something. The difference would be that hope results in a certain goal, certain aspirations. This is where I need to get, but you may not put in the effort, you may not get there. But the raghba is actually bridging the gap, is actually getting there. We use this word marghoob in our own language. That's something that is dear to your heart, something that is desirous. People say that, biryani is very marghoob to me, that I seek it out, and it's not just hope that I will get it. People will put in the effort to, I don't know who makes the best biryani, but go there and get it and acquire it. Right? So it is something that your tabiyyat wants and desires now. And so developing this sort of raghba towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is essential. I remember that some mashayikh used to teach this, that you should read 100 times every day, La marghubi illallah, La matlubi illallah, La mahbubi illallah, La ilaha illallah. So 100 times. If a person feels that their inclination or the heart is not into it, that the kasal is strong and bezari is strong, that washa is there, the person doesn't really care, then they should try this wazifa of just reading it 100 times every day. Now obviously to read the wazifa you need some himmat too. Right? So you need a raghbat to get to the eventual raghbat. So I guess that is the difference, right? So for a mubtadi, a beginner, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows a different kind of raghbat. So for example, they will sit down in zikr, muraqabah, and there's some halabat there's some kayfiyat there. So that is really what a person is inclined toward, right? That feeling, that emotion that a person gets. But just understanding that may not be the ultimate goal, that our ultimate goal is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So within what is known as daira vilayat sughra, people usually feel all these amazing feelings and emotions and things like that. But then when you move up from that, the vilayat kubra, which is known as the vilayat of the anbiya kiram alayhi salatu wasalam, of course they are not about that mazat and lazzat and enjoyment and all of that, right? So then the raghbat really becomes seeking the rida of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, seeking the qurba of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? So you move from that initial lazzat or kayfiyat of jazb, and a heraus aa jata hai, a settlement happens, and now the raghbat is, like how do I please Allah ta'ala? How do I, and this is without or with less interference from the nafs itself. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala becomes marghoob. And so the ibadat that a person does is not necessarily because I feel good in it, right? But it is because this is what is true of a true arif, that we look at ourselves and define ourselves in a not intellectual but in a wujudi. Wujudi means like a very existential, like very, our whole existence is defined by being an abd of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then, the ultimate raghba would be, a raghba of just like self-annihilation, the nafs really is out of the picture completely, and a person is in like the ultimate shuhud, and this person does not want to get out of this mushahida as well. Wallahu alam, those who experienced it know best about it. But for us, the raghba that we should be aiming for is that our heart is into things that we're supposed to be doing, especially when it comes to the outer sunnahs, the inner sunnahs, the ikhlaq, things that the Shariat have defined, ibadat. And if you feel that my heart is not desiring it, same ilaj, making dua to Allah Ta'ala, seeking out suhbah, doing istighfar, and maybe doing this wazifa as well, that has been mentioned. So whatever we do, the heart is into it. We're not just checking boxes, because that's the worst thing to be doing. Like you check box every day. Okay, I did this, I did this, I did this, I did this. In a sense of, I just have to do it. It's my routine to do it. It's good to have istiqamah, meaning it's a good thing that you're checking boxes at least, but I'm saying that your heart has to be, like you have to want to be doing it, not just because you have to do it. You see the difference? I mean, one thing is your duty. I have to just go to job, right? 9 to 5, I have to do something, but maybe you don't like your job, right? And then there's this position where like, oh, subhanallah, this is my ideal dream position that I worked all my life and I just landed in, and now you just love to go there, do what you do, and that's the raghbah, that's your desire of doing it. So it's not like a musibah, it's not just some job you have to do, but it is something that you want to do, that you love to do, that you desire to do. And Mashaykh have written, and I remember we covered this some time ago, that raghbat is actually one of the stages of muhabba, of love. There are different stages of how the heart becomes attentive towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So with that self-awareness, very easy, just look at your heart. What does it desire? Who does it desire? Like, who does it desire? It has to desire something. Dil behre muhabbat hai, muhabbati karega. Laak isko tu samjhaye kisi pe tu marega. Memory. So dil just, it just likes to attach itself. And so the question is, what is it attached to, and who is it attached to? Sometimes it's just attached to its own, narcissistic self, in the self of me, myself, and I, and sometimes with others, right? So people will just, they call people like a dil tank, and they throw their heart at everybody and sees where it sits. So we have to see, what our heart is desiring, what it's attached to, and if we find that it's not Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then it's then we have to make some serious changes. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala should be al-marghoob, matloob, mahboob, ma'bood, all of that. So we make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that in this blessed month of Ramadan, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala becomes our marghoob, and matloob, and mahboob. Of course, He is our ma'bood. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses us with a qatra, with a drop of His muhabbat that just takes out every other muhabba. That connection that just gets rid of every other connection that we might have and that we might be stuck in. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's not difficult for Him. Allah ta'ala allows. Ameen ya Rabbal Alameen. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillah.